Hi, my name's Olivia, and I am a first-time mom with a 10-month-old baby boy, and I like to do things a little bit more natural, a little bit more on the crunchy side of things. I love to talk about birth and pregnancy and non-toxic type of living, so if you're into that, subscribe. Today, I want to share the 11 things that I regret from my first 10 months of motherhood. So I feel like I have been in it long enough to kind of be able to look back and reflect on things. I definitely don't want this to be a negative at all. This is just these are things that I regret, yes, but also just things that I will do differently second time around. And maybe you, if you are about to be a mom, or maybe you're at the very beginning of being a mom, maybe these things can help you. Maybe you can tie these things into what you're doing and learn from my mistakes. So these are just learning things instead of something negative that I regret. So the first thing would be having a hospital birth. I already made a video about my birth story, which I can link, and then also kind of some background into why I wish that I wouldn't have had a hospital birth, so I will link that as well. And if you want more details about that, go ahead and go watch one of those videos. But basically, I just wish I would have had a home birth, and that is definitely what I'm going to be planning for baby number 2. The second thing that I regret, and it's the biggest, one of the biggest things, is not taking a stool softener the day that I gave birth. So all these things were happening and I forgot. And then day 2, day 3, I was afraid to poop because all that stuff had gone down there and I wasn't sure, and it's just a lot going on and I was very scared. So I didn't want to push anything down there. So then I just waited more and more days. Plus I didn't have that stool softener at the beginning. So it was not pretty, and I also have a video about that if you want to, dive into the beautiful realm of hemorrhoids. So that is something that was terrible, and I hope that that does not happen the second time around. And I really hope that that's not happening to you, because that is not fun, not cool. My third regret would be not sleeping with my baby from the beginning. So this is something I didn't even realize was a okay thing to do if you follow some safe guidelines. And so I was really scared. I was warned against it and how all these things could happen and it's so terrible and blah blah blah. Once I did my own deep dive and research and I realized, wow, I can do this, and I started implementing it, it was literally the best thing ever. It was the best thing I did. It changed my whole life. It changed everything. It was so amazing. So that was amazing, and I wish I would have done it from the beginning instead of, I think I waited 6 weeks. So next time, day 1 in my curl, for sure. My third regret would be letting other people's opinions or their ideas kind of creep in and affect what I was doing. So I think that mom knows best. You know how to take care of your baby. You're going to know how to take care of your child and your children. And it's just something an instinct that you have, and you're going to know what is best for your kid. So whenever you look at outside things like Instagram or whatever, social media, they're telling you all these things, or even just friends and family, they love to give their opinion on things. And yes, sometimes it's really helpful and great, but sometimes it is not what you need, and you definitely don't need those things to creep in on what you're doing and what's working well for you and your family. So for example, at the very beginning, I heard someone say that we were burping my baby, and they were you can do it harder than that, which I don't know why. They were a parent, so I was yeah, maybe I'm not doing this right. So I would burp him a little bit harder for the next few days. And my husband at a point, he was spitting up way more than normal. My husband's what are you doing? And I'm man, I let this outside opinion change how I'm burping my baby, which is so weird. That's such a weird thing. Anyways, then I completely stopped burping him altogether, and I would just hold him, stand up, and just kind of bounce a little bit, and he would burp literally every time, and it was so much better. So I don't know why I let little things like that creep in. or the sleeping thing. I was so excited about this amazing thing that I was doing and that had like changed my world. So the minute I told, literally the first person outside my mom that I told, they were like, how dare you? Kind of like, what if you roll over on your baby? What if you suffocate your baby? What if you, all these bad things. And I was like, oh no, like, oh my gosh, like all these like doubts and stuff are creeping in. And it's like, wait, I already did all this research. I already know. I've already been doing this. It's working so amazing. It's what is best for my family and my baby. And anyways, so letting those like outside ideas or opinions creep in, it's just can take something that's so good and fun and awesome and turn into like doubt and worry and anxiety. And so that's like not something that I would do for baby number 2. So that's something that I would definitely just reduce the noise. Another regret I have is leaving the house too early, which I've heard this and I did hear this, but I didn't fully understand. I thought like it would be great to get out of the house and to go do stuff and whatever. And I've also heard of people who like, my mom took me the day I was born, or the day she was released from the hospital, took me to Olive Garden, and like, I just thought, oh, it's no big deal, really. It was a really big deal for me. I guess for other people, sometimes it's not, but it was like, I left to go to like a family dinner, 10 days postpartum, and then it was like aunts, uncles, grandparents, great-grandparents, all these people, and I was so overwhelmed, and maybe I'm crazy, I don't know, but I literally strapped my baby to my body, and I was like, no one's gonna touch my baby. Like, no, this is my baby, this is my time. I was just like so on edge. I literally ate dinner with my baby on me, and I was like, even my family, I'm like, no, no, like, it was too soon. I needed that time with my baby. I've heard that staying in like 40 days is like the way to go, and I've heard it from a lot of different people, and so like I am planning on doing that. I don't know how well it's gonna work. That seems like kind of a lot of time to stay in the house, especially when I already have a baby, but if that is going to save me from like the dramatic stuff that like went on in my head from leaving too early, then maybe that's the way to go. If you've done that, let me know, because that's kind of my plan. So another regret I have is not researching actual like baby stuff until after my baby already arrived. So for an example, I did not research anything about vaccines or I didn't really research anything about pediatricians. I just knew I had to find one at like the end of my pregnancy. So I found one that someone recommended, and I was like, okay, we're good to go. And then it ended up not working out, and then I had to find another, and then that didn't work out, and it was a whole thing. And then plus like you have to decide on these vaccines when you're at the hospital, or the eye ointment, or all this stuff. And if you're not really looking into these things, really deciding like what's best for your family and what's best for your kid and what do you believe in and all these things, then it can be really tough, and it can feel like overwhelming because you have this new baby, but now you have to do all this research really fast because you have to take them to the doctor like 3 days or something after they're born, and then you have to take them like 2 weeks, and it's this whole thing. You have to do all these things, and then you're like panicking, researching things. That's what I did. I wouldn't recommend. I was so focused on my birth and like doing research on that and listening to birth stories and all this stuff. Like, I don't think that's bad. And I think that once your baby's here, you'll know how to take care of your baby. You don't have to take like a class on that. But like important decisions like vaccines, that's something that maybe you should think about, research beforehand. Talk to your husband or partner or whatever about those types of things before your baby's actually here, so you're on the same page, you know what's going on, you know what you want to do. Another mistake I made was working out too hard when I finally was released to work out. So when I went to my 6-week appointment, I thought I was like waiting for the day that I got to go, because I thought, oh, I get to be released to work out and I get to, you know, jump back into everything. It'll be amazing. And I'm going to do this like crazy workout that I used to do before, and I'm going to get my body back and all these things. No. What made me think that that was a good idea? After you have a baby, there's so much down there that is trying to heal. There's so much inside of you that's trying to heal. Plus, not to mention the fact that I hadn't worked out for 6 weeks. So when I jumped into this like program thing, the day I was like released, I was so excited. But then for like 5 days, maybe even a week, I felt like I couldn't walk. Like it was, I've never been so sore in my life. So definitely don't recommend doing that. And I also didn't realize like there are a few things, I'm not saying work out at the beginning at all, but there are things that you can do, like small things about like healing your pelvic floor and like small exercises, not like a workout, but there are little things that you can do, and I did not realize that. Plus, why am I waiting 6 weeks for a doctor to tell me if I can do something or not? Like, I feel like I should have just listened to my body and figured out, okay, what can I realistically do at this moment in time? Okay, did that feel good? Okay, now a few days later, okay, well, what can I do now? What can I do now? Instead of just like thinking that just because the doctor told me at 6 weeks, I can go for it, just like going 0 to 100 makes no sense. But anyways, that's my thought process back then, and now definitely regret it. Wouldn't recommend doing that. Next regret would be getting a crib instead of a floor bed. So like I said earlier, I sleep with my baby and it's amazing and it works out great. But when you go from sleeping with your baby and sleeping with him on you and all this stuff, and then you try to go to naps in the crib, it doesn't really work out well. Or it hasn't for me. So he hates the crib, or he did. He hated the crib. He didn't want to be in there. He was not used to it. And it was just like a horrible, horrible thing. And I tried just doing naps in our bed until one day, I'm a horrible mother, yes. He fell out of bed. He fell out of the bed. It was terrible. It was terrible for him. It was terrible for me. I felt so terrible. Anyways, I was like, we cannot do the bed anymore. And I really wanted to get a floor bed, but it just didn't make sense at the time. And anyways, so I was like, he has to sleep in the crib because I'm not having him fall off the bed again. And then it was like this whole nightmare of trying to get him to sleep in the crib when he hated it. And I don't like do the cry it out method because that makes me feel terrible. And so it's like this whole situation of trying to get him to sleep in the crib. It would have been so much easier if I just had a floor bed from the beginning, and then I wouldn't have to worry about it. Another thing I regret is not doing cloth diapering. So I've done a lot of research on diapers about like how terrible they are for the environment, and how like literally all the diapers that have ever been made are still on this earth because they don't decompose. And I've done a deep dive into different diapers if you want to go look at that. It's just a lot, and it would just be a lot better to cloth diaper in my opinion. Plus, I did some research after the fact just to see like what is this cloth diapering thing all about, and from what I've seen, it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that gross. Like, it is fine. Anyways, I'm really interested in it. I'm excited to do it next time around. Plus, babies who are cloth diapered are potty trained way earlier. In general, everyone's different, but way earlier than people who do regular diapers, like I'm doing. So I think that cloth diapering would have been an awesome option, and I'm excited to do it next time around. Another regret I have, and this one is a big one, but also super, super difficult, or at least it was for me, is asking for help. Okay, so not only just like asking for help with, I need to go shower, because there were days when multiple days in a row where I didn't shower, which is gross, especially considering all the stuff that's coming out of you at the beginning of your postpartum. Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff going on down there. You definitely need to shower, and sometimes I feel like I was just overlooked, and it wasn't because like my family or my husband was like neglecting me, but it was just like they didn't know because I wasn't speaking out. So that's definitely something that's really difficult for some reason, but I definitely need to do more of next time around. Another thing, I didn't necessarily need help. Well, I really didn't feel like I needed help with my baby, but I felt like I needed someone to just come over and talk to me, like a real human to come and talk. Instead of everything being focused on just my baby, it was like I just went through craziness. I just carried a baby for 9 months. I just pushed a baby out of my body. I went through this whole birth experience, and this is something like you look forward to and you research and all these things, and then after it's like nobody cares about anything except for your baby. Nobody wants to talk about like what happened to you. Nobody wants to talk about like what are real things going on in the world that you want to talk about versus like only focusing on your baby and like let me hold your baby and let me take your baby. No, that's not really what you need. I wish I would have said, hey, yeah, totally, you can come over if you want to help me do some laundry and talk to me about real life. So, or it's just things like that, like little things. It's really hard for me to like say specifically what I need. I don't know why. It shouldn't be, but it is hard. And so that's definitely something that I would have changed. Last regret I have, and this is like my biggest regret, although my husband is not on board, which, anyways, circumcision. So I had a boy, and going into it, again, like I didn't do a crazy amount of research into it. I just thought everyone's circumcised. Not everyone. I don't know why I thought that. And I just thought like it's the way, it's what you do. And in my mind I had this idea like it's not clean and like stuff like that. I didn't do any research, so I didn't know. I just like had this like preconceived idea that like it was the best thing to do. Plus I knew that it was in the Bible, and so I was like, oh, like it's biblical, they're circumcised in the Bible, like that means my baby should be circumcised. And I didn't really think about it. And then in the hospital, after I made the decision, like as they took him out, I remember feeling like this is not right. And then when they brought him back, I was like, ugh, like I felt so bad. Like even right now I'm like, ugh, because it was something that didn't need to happen. And then I realized after like learning more about it, it's not more dirty. It's not something that's like gross that you have to do. It's literally like we're cutting off a piece of their body for no reason, just because it's like what you do in today's society. And he has no choice. He doesn't know what's going on. He's taken away from me at the very beginning of his life for no reason. He has been given injections to have it numbed, and like who knows what that does. I don't know. It's just, I wish I wouldn't have done it, and I wish I would have known more about it. And yeah, like that's something that I do not plan on doing in the future. My husband, he's like, oh, it doesn't matter, whatever. But it does matter. It does. And that's literally my biggest regret. I wish that I wouldn't have done that. And also, like, if you change your mind, if they change their mind, they can do it. They can make that decision later on in life. And it's the same thing. They can literally do it later if they choose to do it later, instead of us like taking that choice away from them. So that's my 2 cents on it. Take these things with a grain of salt. I hope that these things kind of help you if you are about to be a new mom, or maybe you already had your baby and you're watching this. Congratulations, and I hope that you can take a couple of these things and implement them and maybe not make these mistakes that I made. Everything's a learning curve, and so this, again, it's like not meant to be negative. This is literally just learn from my mistakes, take what works for you and your family, and I hope this helps, and thanks for watching.